Hi guys, I wanted to do a short video here just to introduce you to lab number 2. It's our chapter 1 lab called Random Sample Restaurants. So if we were in class together, I'd kind of give you people a brief introduction, and especially since you guys are working on your own. Okay, so here it is on the right side of my screen, and then I've got Google over here. I'll be showing you a little something with that too. Okay, so it says you'll need a random number generator. I recommend the one by Google. So I'm going to go over here and put in random number generator, and it pops right up. The one by Google is really nice. And so we'll have this ready to go. Okay, so you see that big list of restaurants. So these are all restaurants in San Diego, or San Diego County. Turns out there are 97 of these restaurants in all, if you were to count up all those names. But they're divided up nicely. So you can see at the top, we've got the price range of the restaurants from $1 sign up to $4 signs, right? And we have what neighborhood of San Diego they're located in. So obviously this is not a full list. This is just some of the restaurants around San Diego. But okay, so all of these are in North County. All of these are in Gaslamp, right? You get the idea. So about the price range, and then about where they're located. Okay, so on page number 2, here's the lab, right? We're going to take 5 different samplings of these 97 restaurants, all different ways. So number 1 is the simple random sample. So I want to walk through this one. Obviously, you'll get different numbers than me, but it says choose a way to count the restaurants. So we're going to do this with our random number generator. One way it says, okay, so we're going to have to label the restaurants, right? A way to count the restaurants, like number them. So one way to number these restaurants is to go down the first column and then continue at the top of the second column, etc. Okay, so what that means is, you don't have to follow my advice, but I find the easiest way to number the restaurants is to think of this first one in the upper left as number 1, and then going down number 2, number 3, number 4, and then number 5, then number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and just numbering them going down that column. And then however many there are, pick it up again in the next column, right? The next column until you have 97. Now you don't have to actually go and write all these down. We know how we're thinking of them. So I'll go over to my random number generator, and you see it says min and max. So min is 1, I like that. I'm going to change the max to be 97, since there are 97 of these, and I just have to hit generate. And my number came out to be 18. So I would find number 18, and that would be part of my simple random sample. Then I could go and hit generate again. Okay, number 23, find that one, right, until I have 15 of them. Oh, that's interesting. It came up with number 18 twice. That's kind of bizarre here. But okay, what would happen if it ever generates a restaurant a second time? Well, you just ignore that. So I would just ignore the fact that it gave me 18 again. I'd hit generate, and okay, then I would keep going until I have, how many did we need again? We needed 15 in our random sample until I had 15 different restaurants. Okay, so usually people don't have a big problem with that. Let's talk a little bit about systematic, number 2. So in the systematic sample, you can go back and read the definition in the lecture of a systematic random sample. The idea is we use the random number generator to pick a starting point. Okay, so I'll just hit this again. Okay, it gave me number 12, so I would find restaurant number 12. That's somewhere here in this first column. Obviously, you'll get a different number. That's my starting point. Then we will systematically pick 15 more restaurants for a total of 16 in our sample. And I just chose to make this one 16. There's nothing special about that. So we'd say, how would we systematically pick 15 more from our starting point? So our starting point is in our sample, right? Then we're going to pick more. How do we do that? The systematic random sample, what you do is you're always counting the same number of restaurants before you take the next one. And the way you decide, you say, okay, how many restaurants do I want in my sample? And we want 16. I'm going to divide that number by the total number in the population. Okay, so I want 16 in my sample, so I'll take 16 divided by 97 and do that calculation, round it to the nearest whole, and that's how many I would count from my starting point. And then I would take that restaurant, then I would count that number again, take that restaurant until I've gone almost all the way around, and almost all the way around I'll collect number 16. Also, some people sometimes aren't sure what to do when they get to the end of the list. Well, if as you're counting and taking more in your sample, when you get to the end, start back at the beginning and keep going until you wrap back around to where you came from. Okay, finally, last one I'll talk about is number 3, the stratified sample by price. So you notice we do 2 types of stratified, one by price, one by neighborhood. The stratified by price. Okay, so we're thinking of the 4 price ranges as 4 strata. Just think of them like 4 different groups. Okay. It says randomly pick 20 restaurants with equal representation from each of the price stratum. To do this, randomly pick the same number from each price group. List the names of the 20. Okay, so we're going to have a sample of 20, and there are 4 price ranges. Well, if we're going to pick the same number of restaurants from each price range, well, how many restaurants should we have from each of the 4? Well, okay, maybe you can figure that out. And then once you know how many to pick, then we can go to our random number generator, and maybe this first one, I forget how many there are, but we need to say 1 to whatever number that last one is there, and we generate however many we need. And then we could pick it up again, and we could just rethink the order here. We could start at number 1 here, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, count just down that list and generate until we had all of there, and we would do that for all 4 columns until we had the same number from each column for a total of 20. You're going to do something very similar for the stratified by neighborhood, and then the cluster sample. Read the definition of cluster there in the lecture. There you're doing clusters by neighborhood, and so you'll do it that way. Okay. Good luck on the lab. Again, you can come to office hours and chat with me about any of these things if you are stuck.